We are in the final moments of preparing for the debut performance of a Python grab bag, a set of short plays with Jason Owen and Sumana Harihareswara. This is an interactive performance. I encourage you to go to the talk description page on pygotham.org, where you can see a menu of all of the plays that are on order here, and there are also menus at your seats. So please give a warm welcome. Thank you.
Am I being amplified? I am being amplified. Are you being amplified?
I think so.
Awesome!
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you. Thank you for coming to our show.
Yeah. We're about to do 18 short plays about Python.
So I'm Sumana Harihareswara, and this is Jason Owen, and we are going to be doing 18 short plays about various aspects of Python. Some of them are about the core language or important libraries.
Some of them are about the history of Python or what it's like to be a Python developer.
And some of them are just silly.
But if you get bored with any of them, just wait a few minutes and hopefully you'll like the next one better.
So this show is heavily inspired by a theatrical troupe called the Neo-Futurists and their show, The Infinite Wrench.
There is some audience participation involved, and none of you has to participate. But if none of you participate, it'll be a little bit hard for us to get through this by lunch.
So I am going to need you, the audience, to help us decide what order to do these plays in. So I think you're going to tell them more about where they can find this information.
Yeah, so in addition to on the screen behind us, this is also in our talk description page on pygotham.org, and I believe Dustin just tweeted out a link. So take a look. Can anyone not see these?
Please wave. All right, great. So we are going to be doing a bunch of plays here, and we need you to help us decide what order to do these in, because we're going to ask you to shout out the number of the play that you want to see next when we yell the word curtain, because we'll have a bunch of plays. Each one starts when we say the word go, and then ends when we say curtain. And then you yell out numbers, and the first number between 1 and 18 that we hear, not the loudest, not the one we like the best, but the first, our director, Aya, will ask us if we're ready. We'll set ourselves up. She'll yell go. We'll do the play, and then we'll say curtain, and it's time for you, when you hear the word curtain, to yell a number.
So let's practice. Curtain.
14. All right, I heard 14. Let's practice one more time. Curtain. 14. Okay, one more time. Practice. Curtain. I heard 6. Aya, you want to get us ready?
Sure. 6. New Mailman, a Pythonic playlist.
All right, 6 is New Mailman, a Pythonic playlist. All right, I'm going to call myself ready for that, but I'm waiting for our audio-visual assistant, Sarah, let's give a round of applause to Sarah, who has to deal with a bunch of different audio cues in kind of arbitrary order. So thank you, Sarah. I'll just wait to hear if you're ready.
Ready. Great. 6. New Mailman, go.
The new Mailman open source project is a mailing list manager written in Python. Tons of projects use it, and celebrating the history of open source partly means researching and trawling through archives in Mailman. And it started in the 1990s when founder John Viega was friends with the Dave Matthews Band. This is entirely true. And he wrote the first Mailman prototype to handle the fan club mailing lists for Dave Matthews Band. You might have noticed that's not Dave Matthews Band, that's Rush. Because Barry Warsaw was a maintainer of Mailman, and Barry Warsaw really loves to play the bass. And so 10 years ago, when he released Mailman 3.0 Alpha 1, he codenamed it after a Rush song, Leave That Thing Alone. So for the past 10 years, all the Mailman 3.0 releases have had code names named after Rush songs. There's Grand Designs, Vital Signs, Distant Early Warning, Time in Motion, Carve Away the Stone, Working Man. Now, a year ago, Barry actually handed the baton over to a new project maintainer who's been with the project a while, Abhilash Raj. But every maintainer leaves their mark on a project, from the commit history to the architecture to the culture and rituals. So they're working right now on Mailman 3.3.0, and the code name is Tom Sawyer. Curtin.
6, 7.
Did we already do 6? I hear 14. Aya, you want to get us ready?
We don't say at the daily stand-up meeting.
Things we don't say at the daily stand-up meeting. Okay, Aya, I think this one requires you to help us. No, it doesn't? Okay, then I guess we shove these
ready.
over.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ready?
I'm ready.
Great. Ready.
What?
Ready.
Number 14. Things you don't say at the daily stand-up meeting. Go.
I do not understand what you just said.
I've done the same thing every day this week, but I'm trying to find different words for it.
I can't concentrate on my work, and I don't anticipate that changing until, best case, January 2021.
I feel like I got nothing done yesterday.
I feel like I got nothing done yesterday.
I am beyond stuck. I'm drowning, and I need help.
No blockers.
No blockers! No blockers! Curtin!
5.
5. I think I heard 5. Aya?
A proposal for explaining PEP. Number 5.
All right, let's get over here.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
How's that going for you?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. No blockers.
No blockers.
All right, are we ready? Number 5. Ready.
Ready.
Number 5, a proposal for explaining PEPs. Go.
The first time that you learn about the Python Enhancement Proposal or PEP process, you might not realize it is kind of like amending the US Constitution.
And in fact, PEP 1 defines the process for future PEPs.
PEP 8, which you might have heard of, defines proper style guidelines.
We move through a series of version control systems via a sequence of PEPs.
And so on, and so on, and so on. We're up to more than 650 PEPs now.
So what do we want out of this process? I don't think it's about speed or about the acceptance rate. I think it's about having a clear way to communicate.
Yeah, I think that the PEP process, by existing, helps us all see clearly what decisions are under the purview of the BDFL and delegates of the BDFL, and what kinds of decisions are under the authority of individual project maintainers.
Yeah, and what we want at the end of each PEP discussion is for everyone to have a clear understanding of what Python is going to be and what is not going to be. It's like a lot of collaborative processes in that way.
If you have an idea for a PEP, the first step is to start talking about it on the mailing list where people interested in that Python topic talk with each other. Then you draft a proposal, submit it as a pull request to the PEP's repository on GitHub, and then you talk with other people a lot and hear everyone who has an opinion and revise your proposal based on their feedback over and over and over again until every major argument has been heard.
It's kind of like an architecture review at a big company, except for instead of the number of colleagues you might be used to, you have a few more, potentially the entire Python community.
Now, it used to be the case that after you were done writing your proposal, the BDFL or his delegate would decide yes or no, approve or reject, and then write an explanation saying, well, this is why I've made that decision, so that the entire Python community could understand what this means for the future of the language and the ecology.
But now that Guido van Rossum has stepped down as BDFL, one of the discussions on the mailing list is how to move forward. And so PEP 8000 is tracking the various efforts to come up with a new model of Python language governance.
Hey, Jason. Yeah. I'm actually kind of nervous because I'm writing my first PEP right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's about defining an API for uploading packages to the Python package index, and I'm a little about it.
Would you like me to help you feel less nervous?
I mean, can you?
Let's see. How likely is it, do you think, that the battle over your PEP is going to be so contentious that the leader of the language decides that, you know what, you all are on your own for a while?
Yep, that worked. Curtain. 18.
18.
18.
The end of 2.7 is near, featuring Jason as Guido Van Rossum, number 18.
Ready.
Are we ready? Ready.
Ready.
Number 18. The end of 2.7 is near, featuring Jason as Guido Van Rossum, go.
Let's not play games with semantics. The way I see the situation for 2.7 is that EOL is January 1st, 2020, and there will be no updates, not even source-only security patches after that date. Support from the core devs, from python.org, and from the PSF stops completely on that date. If you want support for 2.7 beyond that day, you will have to pay a commercial vendor. But the core devs have toiled. Long enough. The core devs have toiled long enough. They
really have.
They really have. The 2020 EOL date, an extension from the originally announced 2015 EOL, was announced with sufficient lead time and fanfare that I don't feel bad about stopping to support it at all.
The family and friends of Python 2.7 invite you to an end-of-life ceremony to be held on January 1st, 2020, where we will commemorate Python 2.7 and share our fond memories of it, and help the absolute last stragglers port their critical production systems onto Python 3 already. In lieu of flowers, patches welcome.
Curtain. Three?
What's the deal with clients? Number 3, are we ready?
Ready?
Great, number 3.
Ready.
What's the deal with clients? Go.
Everyone, I'd like you to put your hands together for tonight's comic, Sumana.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Hey, I am a consultant, and let me ask you, what's the deal with clients? They're just impossible to deal with, am I right? Am I right? Every time I send an invoice, I want it to be an outvoice, like, get me out of here. Hey, a client walks into a bar, you know what they say? Make the lager bigger. You know that saying, fast, cheap, and easy, pick two. I've had clients who were like, I'd like fast, and cheap, and easy. And is there a fourth thing? Is there a fourth thing I can have? Can I have a pony? A pony, fast, cheap, easy, and a pony? And the changes, every deliverable. They want a million nitpicks. They're always like, you've forgotten this super critical thing that I really need because you never bothered to ask me or observe my workflow. And they're so superficial and they're so petty. You know, it's always all the changes are about making the logo bigger or the wrong color of blue. But what are they thinking, judging what they can actually see of a deliverable to try and exert some modicum of control over a terrifyingly complex technology they don't understand? Oh, but they don't know, right? They don't know what they want. They're wrong about what they need. It's almost as though they should just hire a professional with domain expertise to come in and assess their situation and develop a plan of action as a consultant.
Hey, are you doing okay?
I thought I was.
I mean, this is observational humor, right? You're pretty good at that kind of comedy.
Well, okay, and I never wanted to show contempt for anyone in my humor. That's not who I am. But I seem to have gone right past lovingly pointing out foibles into actual empathy, and then that ruins it. It's gone now.
But vendors are so awesome.
Oh, thank you, guys. What's the deal with vendors? Curtain. I think I heard two.
From import.
Two from import.
Are we ready?
I am ready.
I am ready.
We're waiting. What is the deal with vendors? I tell you, every minute of the day.
Ready.
Ready.
Number 2 from import.
It is so fascinating to look at how import works.
It really is, and we're not the first to talk about it at a Python conference. I really love Alison Kapter's talks and writing about this. She gave a PyCon 2014 talk you should really check out called Important Decisions.
I should.
Yeah.
And right here at PyGotham last year, did you happen to see George London's talk, Import Madness, how to implement merge sort from scratch using only import statements?
No, I didn't, but I really do need to. I love import. It makes it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and I hate unnecessary work. It is so redundant.
Me too. I hate unnecessary work. It's so redundant.
So, yeah, I think you're totally right. So I think that means we don't actually have to explain anything in this talk about how import works. Why reinvent the wheel? We could just import those other talks and incorporate them by reference.
Huh. Yeah, okay. From talks, import Kapter, and import London.
It's not laziness, it's reuse. Carton.
4.
I heard 4.
I heard a play entirely full of Monty Python references. Number 4, are we ready?
Almost.
Ready.
Ready.
Ready?
Number 4, a play entirely full of Monty Python references. Go.
At the PyCon 2018 sprints this year, Sumana was working with a new developer from India and had to explain packaging.
So the Python programming language is named after a British comedy troupe that was really big in the 1970s called Monty Python.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually where we got a lot of our variable names. So spam and eggs, things like that came from Monty Python.
People in this community really love naming pieces of infrastructure, bits of documentation after clips from those comedy sketches.
And in fact, the Python 1.6 release was named the Contractual Obligations release after an album from Monty Python of the same name.
There was this sketch they did called The Cheese Shop, where someone tries to go and buy cheese, but there isn't any. It's funny when they do it. And that's why when the Python package index, our sort of warehouse of packages started, and it didn't really have that many packages in it, people called it The Cheese Shop to make a joke.
I love Monty Python. It's so much fun.
So the people who founded Monty Python were all white, and the people who started the Python programming language were also white. And statistically, white people are less lactose intolerant than us, and they're really into cheese, paneer. And so there's a particular kind of cheese that's a low round cylinder where it's hard enough on the outside that you can like move it around easily, but it's gooey on the inside with the cheese. Here, let me just show you. They call it a wheel, okay? And it's like a wheel that's round. And so there's this binary distribution format that's precompiled that's also called a wheel because it's smaller, right? So it's easier to carry around, but also you open it up to get the zeros and the ones, the cheese part. This was this person's first PyCon. And first time working at all with anything having to do with Python packaging or distribution. And I already knew that I worked in developer experience, but I didn't know I was also going to have to work in localization.
You know I'm vegan.
Curtain.
15.
15.
15, which is the relief of reuse, the colorful art parts.
That's right, you get two arc parse plays. Huh?
All right, ready?
Ready.
Number 15, are we ready? Almost. Great. Number 15, the relief of reuse, the colorful art parts play. Go.
I would like to use your command line tool, please.
Wonderful. Let me show you how to use the interface. If you are processing a triangle, you will need a pine cone. Put the pine cone in one of the boxes. I like the middle one there. If you're processing a circle, you will need a paperclip chain. Attach the paperclip chain to any of the sides. I'm going to put it on this side here. Doesn't matter which. And then if you're processing a square, you'll need a library card. Slide it partway through the card reader on the side.
Halfway?
I mean, 30 to 70%, just not past the tape that's holding it on.
Okay.
Are you finding this interface off-putting?
A little bit, yes.
Let me see what I can do about that. So instead of my own artisanal code, I switched to argparse. Now you can just put the shape that you want to process through the hole of the same shape.
So the circle goes through the circle slot.
Exactly.
Thank goodness I was running out of pine cones.
Curtain.
Curtain.
17, speaking Python.
17 is speaking Python.
Ready?
Ready. 17, speaking Python, go.
Curtain. I heard 8.
Generators, taste the freshness.
8 is generators taste the freshness. We should have a Mentos do 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 do. All right, ready.
Ready?
All right, number 8, generators, taste the freshness. Are we ready? Ready. 8, generators, taste the freshness, go.
I could write a function that would take as input a list and then return a list as output. For instance, which people in this room have worked on PyPI or Warehouse? All right, 2. Or a few, actually several.
And that was a quick function to run and easy to parse the output. But sometimes you don't want all of the results at once.
I hereby call the function, I could really go for some juice right now.
Here's what that function returns.
But I'm not that thirsty, I have nowhere to store all this, and I'm worried it'll go bad before I can drink it all.
So perhaps what you want instead is a different kind of function, a special kind of function called a generator. When you use the yield keyword instead of return, Python creates an iterator for you. And then when you iterate over it with for thing and generator, then you only get one result at a time.
One element out of the, oh, so it's like output as a service.
Yes, exactly.
All right, let's try it. Okay, juice.next.
All right. Yield juice.
Juice.next.
Yield juice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to figure out who takes these home?
I would like to not do that. If you all would like some juice afterward, please come up.
Curtain.
13. 13 is when the old was new. Are we ready? 13.
I am almost ready. Sorry, I'm moving this giant case of juice. Props make a lot of sense when you get them.
And the old was new.
Ready?
Ready.
Ready? 13.
Ready.
When the old was new, go.
I moved to New York at the beginning of 2017. And so for me, the Q train has always gone all the way up to 96th Street.
I lived in Astoria for 12 years, and so sometimes when I'm tired, I still accidentally try to take the Q train home, and this does not work.
Guido van Rossum started working on Python in December of 1989, and in 1994 released version 1.
And in 10 days, on October 16th, it will be the 18-year anniversary of the first release of Python 2.0, which happened on October 16th, 2000.
It is incredible to look back at the release notes for Python 2 and see all the things that were new then that feel to me like they've always been in the language. Python 2 is when we introduced list comprehensions and extended import, which is the name for import foo as bar.
It's where we introduced the dist utils, the distribution utilities, Unicode strings and the codex module, and augmented assignment.
And the year 2000 is when the first PEP was written. There are over 650 of them now.
You know, the past is another country, and they speak another language there, a language without list comprehensions, apparently.
Yeah. Python got better, but I wonder what it was like to be a developer adapting to those changes. It's easy to change a line of code, but changing the maps in someone else's head is a lot harder. As you say in your head, the Q train is supposed to take you home.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we work in an industry where you get a lot of practice adapting to change.
Yet another opportunity for growth.
Curtain.
One.
The Unvarnished Truth.
Ready.
Ready?
1, the Unvarnished Truth, go.
I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you.
These plays were sponsored by me.
And me.
We're both freelancers, and we spent dozens of hours writing, rehearsing, and preparing these plays for you. And we could have been doing billable work instead.
And we spent what's probably going to end up being over $1,850 out of our own pocket on renting rehearsal space, buying props, and paying our director and our audiovisual assistant.
So this is our sponsorship plug. My name is Jason Owen, and I'm available starting in January to help you and your team more effectively deploy quality code, either as a mentor or as an individual contributor.
And I'm Sumana Harihareswara of ChangeSet Consulting, and I have availability starting next year for short-term project management gigs working on your open source projects or open source projects that you depend on.
So if you've enjoyed this session, please feel free to find us afterwards and thank our sponsors.
So we could have done like a standard talk. We could have submitted something that would have helped our careers. And so we chose to do this instead, and if you're glad we made that trade-off, please find us after. Curtain!
9.
I heard 9.
I heard 9. This is how we do it.
9, this is how we do it.
This is how we do it.
Ready?
Ready?
Are we ready? 9. This is how we do it. Go.
Excuse me, not ready. Okay.
9. This is how we do it. Go.
Hey, do you want to get dinner after?
Sure, you in the mood for anything in particular?
Eh.
In the 1990s, Larry Wall, the creator of the Perl programming language, embraced the motto, "There's more than one way to do it." Larry was a linguist. There's usually more than one way to say something in human language, after all.
I'm pretty open.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I could really go for?
What's up?
Not having to make a decision.
Many years later, on a Python mailing list, a post asking for fundamental idiomatic recommendations within the spirit of the language got a reply from Tim Peters, one of Python's core developers. In it were these lines: "In the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. There should be one, and preferably only one, obvious way to do it. Although that way may not be obvious to you unless you're Dutch."
You know, I heard about an app that will take your location and choose a restaurant at random for you.
I haven't tried it.
Yeah, me neither.
Why do you think that is?
Why, what is?
Well, why haven't we tried that? This is not the first time that we've had to make this decision that neither of us wants to make. Either of us would be fine with the other person choosing where to go, but neither of us wants some piece of technology to tell us where to go.
Well, I think that you and I in particular are not super excited about installing apps on our phones, and I'm not so sure that such an app would know what it means to be vegan.
And maybe it's because we're not Dutch. Curtain.
11. If Shakespeare wrote incident reports. AP.
Ready?
Ready?
Rate. If Shakespeare. Yep. Okay. 11. If Shakespeare wrote incident reports, go.
I could a tale unfold, whose lightest word would harrow up thy soul, freeze thy young blood, make thy two eyes like stars start from their spheres, thy knotted and combined locks to part, and each particular hair to stand on end like quills upon the fretful porpentine. My friend had stored his data in the cloud. 10 years of email, wedding pictures too. His code, his archives, scripts and little notes, and kept it all on Amazon EC2. It turns out instant storage isn't safe. Configure your elastic block store, friends. And terminating virtual machines doesn't just reboot, the storage ends. He didn't stop to check partition type. Some problem needed fixing right away. He thought this was his backup and was safe. The scariest story you will hear today. Curtain!
10.
I heard 10.
Cookie for your thoughts.
Cookie for your thoughts.
Ready?
Ready?
Cookie for your thoughts, go. Number 10.
Sometimes I have trouble at conferences. One of my goals is to network and meet new people, but that comes more easily to some people than to others. So I think maybe a little bit of structure might help. Nothing heavyweight, something small, like a seed that could grow into a conversation. We came up with several conversation starters and put them into fortune cookies. They're all vegan, and they'll be at the exit when you're leaving. So please take one and use it to talk to someone new, someone that you've not met before, about the topic inside your fortune cookie. I hope this will make the conference a little bit better for you. Curtin.
16. The other bureaucrat. The intellectual art parse play.
Arg Parse 2, The Revenge.
Are we ready?
Ready.
Ready.
Great. Number 16, the other bureaucrat. The intellectual art parse play. Go.
It's hard when you're working on an already difficult problem when your tools get in the way. TV Tropes talks about how in video games there's this distinction between real difficulty, which is where you're trying to do something that is inherently difficult, and fake difficulty, which is when the interface of the game is getting in the way of you doing that. If you have a command line tool that needs to take arguments from its users, you could use argparse to help get rid of some of the fake difficulty. It's in the standard library, it's easy to use, and it automatically generates usage information to display when your users invoke your tool with --help or with the incorrect arguments.
It's interesting. Human interfaces to complicated systems are often kind of hard to design and use, and that's true both of software and of institutions, bureaucracies. You think about the word bureaucracy, right? It means a systematic way of routing work to the appropriate decision makers or departments. And the same forces that make institutions bad at dealing with complicated edge cases are also the same forces that make software bad at it too. I'm in the middle of reading a couple of books right now about bureaucracy, Seeing Like a State by James C. Scott, and The Utopia of Rules on Technology, Stupidity, and the Secret Joys of Bureaucracy by David Graeber. And they're both about how bureaucracy affects us when it doesn't work, or even when it does. Because the great strength and the great flaw of bureaucracy is that it lets human interactions scale. It templatizes them, tells you, here is the list. Here are the booleans and the ints and the strings that you are allowed to choose from to tell me who you are and what you want. And there's something really powerful and soothing about that.
There is. And so when you are faced with this problem, what do you do?
You know, I don't know about you, I find it really annoying to deal with bad interfaces, so seeing a well-designed one is such a relief.
Yeah, I have to work with so many partially documented and broken interfaces that it makes me feel so helpless when I have to deal with one. But if you are using argparse, that is a sign, to me at least, that you're trying really hard to listen to me.
Yeah, but there is a limit to how carefully you can listen when you're trying to scale, right? You think about those paper government forms. Most of them assume, almost require you to have a binary gender and a W-2 from your employer and a single fixed place of residence. How tempting, how seductive it can feel to think that you can schematize the world, but even though it's fun to make schemata, then when it turns out that the data doesn't fit, it can be real easy to just decide to change that data to pigeonhole people into your schema rather than change the schema to fit the data, the messy data.
Hey, Sumana, I thought we were trying to convince people to use argparse.
Okay, yeah, we are. This play is trying to, you should use argparse, but it's also about a real difficulty, right? Not a fake one, that's not going away, which is that the world is big and messy, and all of life will never fit in neat little boxes.
I mean, we're programmers. We're going to try.
Of course we are. Garten.
7. Soup, scrape, sweep.
All right, I think you might need to preset that a little bit.
A little bit.
Ready?
Ready.
Great. Soup, scrape, sweep. Number 7, go.
An API gives you organized data, but not all websites have APIs. And those that do don't always include all the data in the API that is available on the web page. Even sites that got their data from us, the community, like IMDb, lock it up. You can try and scrape the web page and parse it yourself. But if you do that, you're often faced with malformed XML and syntax errors.
In the spring of 2004, Leonard Richardson, who happens to be my husband, ran into this problem when trying to do web scraping, that existing parsers just choked on the malformed XML. And so he developed an open source Python library called Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup keeps my web scraping from getting snagged up in those parser errors. It peels away the coating that keeps us from making our own APIs. If they don't give us data, we'll take it. Curtain! Curtain! 12, which is?
The last one, code review, fast forward and back.
Hey, bring it back. Okay, code review, fast forward and back, ready.
Ready?
Ready. All right, code review, fast forward and back, go.
Last year, here at PyGotham, we presented a play called Code Review Forward and Back.
You can check it out. It's on PyVideo. It's 22 minutes long. I think it's pretty good. Because what we tried to do was model good and bad interpersonal behavior through 5 fictional scenarios where we showed people doing their jobs well and badly, kind of a Goldilocks story.
Now we're going to try and boil it down to 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm nitpicking your code and missing the forest for the trees.
As a result, we're going to have outages because we'll have pretty code that does dumb things.
Oh no!
Reset.
I can't actually make any decisions about your code until I get policy decisions from the architecture committee.
The resulting slow pace of development is going to cause me to leave.
Oh no!
Reset.
I am so conflict averse and oblivious to my responsibilities that I fail to give you any substantive feedback at all.
The resulting spaghetti code is impossible to work on.
Oh no!
Reset.
You didn't have time to listen to me when I was working on this, and so I merged my code before you had a chance to review it, and this might lead to outages in production.
People and teams in this company don't communicate well, so we're late and we're building something no one wants.
Reset.
I helped you with your work in progress, and I told you who to pair program with.
I grew as a developer, and now I'm mentoring someone new.
And on a meta level, this play uses the power of theater to engage the audience emotionally and model the interpersonal behavior that we want to see.
And I got to collaborate with my friend and colleague Sumana and advance my public speaker goals.
This is true. Curtain. All right. Those are our plays. So thank you so much. We have some thank yous.
This session is the latest in Sumana's line of non-traditional tech talks, and I want to thank her for coming up with this idea and for including me.
Aw, thanks. I'm thanking like 20 people, so you should hold it till the end, because thank you for working with me, working on this with me, thinking of play topics, editing, rehearsing. I wrote almost all of these plays. You made them better.
There you go. Thanks to our director, who is now in the back of the room, Aya Aziz, and to the Neo-Futurists for their show, The Infinite Wrench, that we took as inspiration.
Thanks to Dustin Ingram for taking part.
Thank you to Sarah Pavis for running sound and slides.
And a lot of other people helped. I wrote this out so I wouldn't miss anyone. Thanks to Mike Purenot, Leonard Richardson, NYCSubway.org, the Recurse Center, Elizabeth Yalkut, Betsy Heibel, Teresa Nielsen, Hayden, James Vasile, Dave Anderson, Mark Smith, Sam Steinbach-Pratt, Andrea Parsons, and our preview audience from Sunday for help writing, improving, scoring, rehearsing, illustrating, and making props for these plays.
Thanks to A. Jesse J. Davis for being our session chair.
And thank you to PyGotham and to you for taking a chance on this ridiculous thing. Please enjoy lunch. Please do take a fortune cookie and which has a conversation starter on the way out. And we actually seriously have 12 bottles of juice, so come take it. Thank you.